Hi guys, Hyrule here and welcome to my first Hyrule Plays video. It's going to be a series of videos of me playing video games basically and talking about them. So hopefully you guys won't be too bored and find it interesting. But please hit that like button, subscribe if you're somebody new, and I think that's plenty of waffling from me, so let's go straight into the video. So today we're doing a plus 17 Theatre of Pain dungeon. The affixes are Tyrannical, Sanguine and Storming. And so we pull the first trash pack, interrupting the ritualist so he doesn't stand there and spam his casting move, which is that horrible necrotic bolt. As a Sanguine in this run, I need to pay attention to the placement of Sanguine. So as a mob is going to die, I'm going to be paying attention and moving slightly so I can drag the mobs that are still alive away so they don't end up standing in Sanguine. Moving on to the last bit of trash before the first boss in this dungeon, the Raging Bloodhorn. Main concern is the Raging Tantrum. If you have a druid or hunter in your group, as we do in this party, they can dispel the Raging Tantrum with Soothe and Trank Shot respectively. If you don't, then your healer should probably be popping a cooldown to help with the damage. It's not too bad because it's Tyrannical this week, but on Fortified, definitely, especially if you've got Raging as well. Popping a cooldown on here is pretty much mandatory. But outside of that, it's a fairly simple trash mob to get through before you move on to the first boss. And so on to the first boss, the Affront of Challengers. Popping my Avenging Wrath, throwing out my Avenger's Shield, and throwing out my Kirin ability, which chucks out, I think it's up to 5 Avenger's Shields in one go. Lots of damage going out, lots of interrupts. Trying to get the Decapitator down as quickly as possible. And also paying attention for the opportunity strikes, which will stun a healer or DPS. You can break it with CC. From a Paladin tank perspective, I normally use Hammer of Justice or Blinding Light to break that CC. So the Decapitator is almost down, which is great. We can focus on the other two mobs in this fight. The casters are very annoying. The storms are extremely annoying on this fight. There's so much movement going on. There's so much going on. You've got slime in the ground, you've got the storms, you've got the virulent guy just basically teleports and spams Plague Bolt. The accursed guy basically puts a shield up, which is irritating as well. And you've got opportunity strikes going off as well. So there's a lot going on, a lot to pay attention with. But I try to interrupt this virulent guy as much as possible and then drag him onto the other mob as well. But as I said, he's just going to teleport non-stop throughout the fight, which is frustrating. But we're getting there, we're making progress. So we're going to get these guys down as quickly as possible. See if pops another interrupt there, interrupt the necromantic bolt as opposed to necrotic bolt. So yeah, accursed guys are almost down. Opportunity strikes is up again. Avoiding the storms and trying to mitigate as much damage as possible. This is Tyrannical again, so they are a bit hard hitting, but nothing I think this group can't handle. And we just have the Virulent left. Fairly easy to do, just interrupt as much as possible, chase him about when he teleports. Don't forget about the opportunity strikes. I use Blinding Light there to break it. Again, he just teleports, spams Plague Bolt, but he's fairly simple to deal with. And that is pretty much the first boss complete. So Theatre of Pain has intermissions like this, cutscenes. Just use the time to replenish your mana, rebuff, do anything you need to do. We've got a couple of seconds before we move on to the next bit of trash, which is one of the lovely mini bosses, part of the affixes for this season of Mythic Plus. And on to Execution of Varruth, one of the mini bosses throughout the dungeon. He has a pretty nasty bleed effect that he pops on the tank, Sever, and also does a Carnage charge at one random member of the DPS or the healer. So for myself, as a dwarf paladin, I will normally just pop stone form to remove the bleed on myself. As for any other member of the party that gets the bleed, if they are healer, I'll normally save and use the blessing of protection on them to remove the bleed and also protect them from any more physical damage. Fairly simple to do actually. Just, you know, if you get carnage, just move out of the group. And we'll grab our first anima power. So I'm going to take Stygian Barbs. Does quite a lot bit of damage actually. Looking at the damage meters on some of the runs before, Stygian Barbs does quite a lot of damage. So yeah. And on to the first bit of trash in the Hall of Might wing. Trying to get that Arbalist down as quickly as possible. Just stands there shooting his arrows basically. Does this weird sort of just runs off in a random direction, which is really annoying for placement, especially when you've got Sanguine this week as well. So I'm going to kill him, try and leave him here and move back, let the DPS finish him off, so he drops Sanguine there because he's not going to run because I'm not out of range, which is good. And then finish off the last two trash mobs again, watching my placement for Sanguine, so I'm going to move back shortly just to make sure that they die and they're not, you know, dropping Sanguine in the path that we're going to be fighting on, because again it can be a bit of a pain. So I took a little bit of damage there, but nothing too major. I'm going to pull the Brutalizer first because sometimes you can pull the mini boss here and the Brutalizer at the same time, and the timings of their moves will coincide, so you'll get dragged onto the mini boss. He'll do the, I think it's like Bindings of Misery, I think it's called, and then the trash mob here will then do some AoE jump or something. They'll time perfectly, you know, RNG gods will be in play and it'll just be a wipe. So better safe than sorry. I think we've got enough time. I think the DPS is good enough, so there's no need to rush. Yeah, so just making sure I put some cooldowns for that Savage Flurry, using Argent Defender, popping Stone Form, making sure Shield of Righteous is used on cooldown, just mitigating as much damage as possible, especially doing Savage Flurry there. And then we're moving on to Soggodon The Breaker. Nothing major to worry about here except for the Bindings of Misery. DPS is high enough to make sure that those are killed ASAP. In emergency situations I could use Blessing of Freedom to break the chains ASAP, but as you can see the DPS is making short work of those chains, as am I. And yeah, he's pretty much going down very quickly. So he's down. We get the second anima power, so I'm going to choose Stone Ward. So at 20% of my maximum health as a shield every 45 seconds. It is pretty handy to have. And then we're going to move on to the next wing. So moving into the Altars of Agony, I'm going to pull some of these shackled souls, not all of them, but as many as I can, and then drag them back into the tunnel here. It's a bit annoying with the placement because of bind soul that they do and the fact that it's Sanguine this week as well. So I'm going to try and move these guys back as far as possible so they don't all drop on top of Sanguine and then spam bind soul and then obviously heal back up to full HP. So as you can see, we're trying to drop as much as we can here, moving back, kiting these guys back as far as possible, popping as many interrupts as I can. You've got storming going off, you've got Sanguine on the floor, so thankfully the DPS and the healers are moving as well. But yeah, I'm trying to move them back as far as possible because obviously we're going to go through this route and it can be a bit annoying running through Sanguine because I see a lot of people just drop it in the middle of the corridor there and it's just nah. So moving back, we've got this one guy here who just insists on casting Bind Soul and refusing to move. And another one there as well, who literally starts casting Bind Soul as soon as Sanguine is dropped. Seems to know exactly what's going to piss me off. But yeah, no, those guys are down. And then we're going to move on to the next area as well. Just finishing off the last shackled souls, going to put them around the corner as well, line of sight them so they come after me. And then what I'll do is I'll probably drag them back into the tunnel, especially this last one here, so I can drop that Sanguine in the tunnel rather than in the middle here where we're going to be fighting the next trash mob, which will probably be the Stormer guy, Portal Guardian even. So yeah, going to pull the Portal Guardian over here. You can pull the mini boss as well, but it's a pug, and yeah, the DPS is good and the heal is good, but again, better safe than sorry. As I said, look, the Portal Guardian's going down fairly quickly, so not much to worry about, but yeah, safe and sorry. Slow and steady, safe and sorry. And then we're going to move on to Incinerator Arkolath. Again, not huge amounts to worry about. From a healer perspective, I guess, is the dispelling of the debuffs. You can only do one at a time, obviously because of the cooldown on the spell. From a tank perspective, I just need to pay attention, make sure I interrupt Inferno. Don't get caught in any of the AoE abilities. They normally only spawn on range, so it's going to be like a healer or range DPS, so I don't need to worry about that too much. But Inferno is the main thing, catching that and then just mitigating any damage until he's dead, and then we pick up our next our third anima power. So I mean, we've killed one boss and we've already got 3 anima powers, so pretty good route to take in this respect. There's a lot of trash in this dungeon. These bone magicians, if you've got dispel magic ability, say priest, demon hunters are pretty good as well. They can remove those shields pretty much instantly, and then you can take those guys out. Again, for this pack, the Bone Magus is pretty lethal, so I want to try and get him down as quickly as possible and then take out the Soulbinder. Because it's not fortified or something annoying like Raging this week, you can pretty much ignore the Soulstorm guy now. As long as your healer can heal through that, you should be fine. Just mitigating the damage, just trying to get these casters down. That Bone Magus is lethal. And then also just get the Soulbinder down, and then you can just pretty much focus down on the Portal Guardians. You can see he's only got 1 cast off and he's dead pretty much, and then you can move on to the next trash pack. And then on to possibly one of my favourite packs in this dungeon are the Dark Speakers, because their Deathwind ability is pretty much guaranteed to hit at least one person in the dungeon. I know that's terrible. I mean, I look at myself, I almost got hit there myself. I left that one a little late, but yeah, I'm calling it now. At least one person is going to get hit by that. It's just one of these things where you're doing something, like you're focusing on DPSing or healing, and you just do not see the death winds until literally you're launched clean off the platform. It's one of these random moves in the game, but it's always funny to see somebody get knocked off. But I've said it now, so it's going to happen indefinitely, isn't it? But yeah, moving on to the next pack. So we've got a Bone Magus, a Soulbinder and a Dark Speak on a pretty small platform. So we're going to try and get that Bone Magus down as quickly as possible. I think the Druid just popped Typhoon there, which is pretty handy actually, because that's moved the Bone Magus. That'll make placement of Sanguine pretty good. As you can see, the Bone Magus is dead and the Sanguine now is placed in a pretty good position. Watching out for those death winds. I'm hoping nobody gets knocked off, but I've said it now, so I'm sure somebody's going to get hit by it. Oh, almost me there. Good thing I moved. I think somebody got knocked off. I think, yep, we had a hunter. I'm not sure what happened there, but he definitely got knocked off by something. So I've cursed the run now. I've now said that death wind is going to hit somebody, and lo and behold, it's hit somebody else. There we go. And on to Kul'Tharok. I'm not sure how to pronounce it actually. Kul'Tharok? Who cares? Kul'Tharok, we'll call him. Fairly simple boss, to be honest. From a tanking perspective, just stand on top of the boss. Don't move out if you can avoid it. because if you move out slightly, it's just going to spam Spectral Reach. You can interrupt it, but basically just stand on top of the tank. Move if you've got the debuff. The DPS should be moving away from you as well if you've got the debuff, but you know, move if you've got the debuff. Storming can be a bit annoying on this. As you can see, sometimes the storms just spawn directly underneath you and you can be knocked away from the boss and he will cast Spectral Reach, so just keep an eye on that. And the healers, yeah, just basically healers got to keep everyone alive, dispel the parasite buff as and when they can. From when I'm healing this, I normally just dispel one, obviously because I've got cooldown on dispels, and then just spam heal the other person who's taking damage, and hopefully everyone's using personal cooldowns. Oh, I think I just got knocked there. Yep. So I'm sure at some point I'll probably get a Spectral Reach because I've been knocked away from the boss, but as I said before, you can interrupt it. Boss is going down really quickly. The DPS is great in this pug, which is great. Healer is great in this pug, so not really huge amounts to be worried about. Just using my cooldowns, making sure I'm taking as little damage as possible, using that fancy trinket with the slimes, and yeah, the boss is going to be down fairly soon. And just working on the last vestiges of the boss's health. Still popping out those draw souls, which are really annoying. Watching for the storms, worrying about parasite on myself. Got hit by another storm there, and another one. And you see a Spectral Reach, but I've interrupted that, which is good. So yeah, just try not to make any mistakes as we chip away at the last vestiges of his health, and he is almost dead. Yeah, he's dead. Great. So that is boss number 2 down. So we're going to press ahead onto the next area to deal with some more trash. As I mentioned before, this dungeon has a lot of trash. And on to the next thing, which will be the Barrow of Carnage. So you can see I'm marking the sludge spewers because these guys can be really annoying. The withering discharge that they cast can stack, and the damage is quite significant at times. So I try to get these guys down as quickly as possible. So I've marked here, DPS are focusing on that, which is good. Just interrupted the withering discharge there. Looking at my placement again for Sanguine. Thankfully the little mobs don't drop Sanguine, so it's just this mob and the diseased horror. So placement's pretty good here on that. And then we're going to move on to the next pack again. Another one of these sludge spears. I'm going to mark that again because I want that one dead. Use my curing ability to pull there. Great ability for tanks, for Paladin tanks especially. Just chucking out like 5 Avenger shields in one go. Again, interrupting that withering discharge because it's really annoying and I don't want even one cast to get off. And then just watching placement because I've got slimes on the floor to deal with, I've got Sanguine to deal with. Bit annoying, but we managed. And then a pack here with 2 sludge spears. So I'm going to drag these guys into this area, get that withering discharge interrupt. Drag these guys back because I don't want to place Sanguine on that tight little tunnel that we've got up ahead. A little bridge, should I say, up ahead, because we're going to be using that on the next mob. So yeah, just focusing down these sludge spears, just getting them out of the way. Annoying mobs because they jump all over the place as well. So a lot of tanks will yell stack, 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 but you know, as long as you're fairly close to the mobs, it's not too bad. And then into the next area, I'm going to pull the gas bag all the way back and try and pull him back as far as I can because I'm thinking about the placement for Sanguine. I'm thinking about the AoE that he does. I think it's called Vile Eruption, something like that. It's really annoying. But also he drops slimes on the floor as well, so I want to try and make as much use of the space, bearing in mind the fact that we've got Sanguine to deal with, storms to deal with, slimes to deal with, and the AoE to deal with. So just trying to make use of the space that we have here. So he's almost dead anyway, so if I can try and drop Sanguine around here, that gives us plenty of space, and then we can take on the next mini boss in the room without worrying about pulling him as well as the boss. So Oros Coldheart, fairly simple again. The ice lance, the animation on that is so big you can avoid that. You know, it's really easy to avoid. There's enough space here so you can literally run through the boss if you want to avoid that, rather than trying to sidestep or shimmy around him. Watch for the AoE on the floor. If you get biting cold, the healer can basically spam heal you, keep you alive. again, fairly simple to deal with. And then we get our 4th anima buff, which makes the last anima buff in the dungeon. So we've done 2 bosses, and we've got all our anima bosses, all our anima powers, should I say. Bit more trash before the 3rd boss. Again, we've got another sludge spear here, so I want him dead ASAP. I want to make sure that the withering discharge is interrupted, and I also need to be mindful of placement here as well. So I'm going to drag that one back as far as possible, try and get these guys back as far as possible. So I'm placing that Sanguine against the wall and out of the way, so we're not dealing with that whilst fighting the next pack of trash. And on to the next bit of trash. I was going to pull the gas bag as well as the trash that jumps down, but then I remember that there's a sludge spewer in this group and yeah, he needs to go down first, and I don't want to have a problem of placing Sanguine on the bridge there and then trying to fight the gas bag, because we've got to move around quite a lot with the gas bag as well. So yeah, didn't want to pull the gas bag, but of course a storm came along and I jumped down and pulled the gas bag. But it's not too bad, because of course the sludge spear is dead and we've got plenty of space, so hopefully we can get this guy down. And of course I stood in a vile eruption. I mean, the animations are pretty obvious there, so I was a little bit too close. Just moving him back again, just trying to be wary of placement. Hopefully we'll try and avoid the second, and I'm now stuck in slime and been hit by a second vile eruption. As you can see, I tried to pop Blessing of Freedom there to negate the slow from the slime on the ground, but failed miserably. So yeah, that was fun. And then we're just going to clear off the last bits of trash here, just the Putrid Butcher and the Diseased Horror. Again, thinking about placement for Sanguine, because obviously we're going to be walking into the dungeon there. I'm also noting the healers on 20% health, so I put a little note in the chat to say we're going to take a quick mana break before the boss. So yeah, tanks, you know, pay attention to healers. They keep you alive and the rest of the team, so if they're low on mana, give them time to replenish. Healers, give us a shout as tanks, because sometimes we're not always paying attention to chat because there's a lot going on. So let us know if you need a mana break. And on to Gorechop. Can be a very annoying boss. Very mindful of this one because it is tyrannical and we do not have Hera available at the moment, so it can be a bit of a pain. One of the things I find from a tanking perspective on this boss is that the alignment of the tenderizing smash and then the blades moving across the arena, it's just all over the place. You know, there'll be times when basically I'm trying to avoid the blades going across the screen and also the smash, and I'm running away from the boss to try and navigate between the blades, and I'm having to turn my back to the boss. Now I could sort of do it sideways, but then I can't see where I can't see where the blades are, so there's periods I'm having to turn my back to the boss, which from a tanking perspective is just, you just never turn your back to the boss. So it could just be me. I mean, if anyone else experiences this, or anyone else doesn't experience this or has a sort of way of dealing with that, just put something in the comments and let me know. It'd be interesting to see how other people sort of challenge that. So again, prime example, I'm having to run through that and turn my back to the boss. It could just be by design, or it could just be me. But yeah, if anyone sort of has any other ways of dealing with that, let me know. I'll be interested to see how other people deal with that. Baddie's almost dead, which is great, so we can move on to the next boss. But yeah, it's fairly simple boss to deal with. Tyrannical, it does hit hard, especially that hateful strike can be pretty lethal at times, so just keeping my cooldowns going and try not to take any unnecessary damage. The mobs normally just come to me with an Avenger shield is enough to sort of keep them occupied and focused on me. So yeah, Gorechop down and on to the next. And now we can move into the next area of the dungeon. It's quite a distance between some of the sections of this dungeon, so you spend some time sort of running in between different areas of the dungeon. Had a speed boost available. I suppose I could use my Cavalier here, but yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the Druid. He seems to be moving at like 1 frame per second. Not sure what's going on there. Could be a bug in the dungeon, could be lag from the Druid's perspective, but hey. And we've now moved into the Halls of Might, which is the last wing. Last bits of trash that we need to do, and one more boss before the final boss. Trash, nothing major. A lot of it's just avoid stuff on the ground, avoid the usual stuff. DPS, like if there's a green beam that appears underneath you on the ground or something like that, move out of it. It's pretty standard stuff. Tanking perspective, like use your cooldowns and damage mitigations. Again, Shield of Righteous from a Pally tank perspective should be used on cooldown. Colossus Smash there. Avoiding the storms, which seem to spawn directly on top of me. Interrupting Roar, can't do anything with it, etc. Don't use any moves that can be interrupted during that phase. Avoid Ground Smash, nothing major. This next pack, however, can be a real pain on Fortified and Raging. Thankfully, that's not this week. But getting the captain down is the priority. I like to pop cooldowns on here, so I've chucked out my Kyrian Avenger shields there. I've got Avenging Wrath going, Shield of Righteousness, lots of Blessings of Hammer going off there, Avenger Shields, and I'm also mindful of the placement of Sanguine. So as you can see, the captain's almost dead. I do not want him dying on top of these archers because they don't ever move. So yeah, captain's down, should I say. And then just focusing down on the rest of the trash. There's a lot going on, storms going off all over the place, but you know, DPS is making short work of them. Avenger Shields sorting out as well, so I'm dragging these mobs away, these melee mobs away, because I don't want them dropping Sanguine on top of the casters. And my last Avenger Shields Kyrian ability there as well. And then this next trash pack before the final boss in this area, again just move behind him when he puts his unbreakable shield up. I believe he also throws a ticking dot on a random member of the party, DPS or healer. So again, if it lands on the healer, I will pop Blessing of Protection on the healer to remove the bleed and stop the physical damage effect. Yeah, other than that, avoid the storms, should I say. Watch placement of Sanguine, and yeah, mind the bleed. As you see, I think it just landed on the healer there, so I've popped Blessing of Protection as I mentioned earlier, and he's down. And then we move on to Xav The Unfallen. I believe the Hunter was asking whether we should use Hera on this one. I think for this one, nah, we'll save it for the final boss. We'll just pop it 50% on the final boss. I think we should have enough DPS to kill this guy. We've got 10 minutes left. I think that's plenty of time to kill this boss and then move on to the final boss. So saving some of my cooldowns for this banner. As you can see, it's pretty much dead in a couple of seconds. So using my Kyrian Avenger Shield ability on that as well. Hit that with 5 Avenger Shields. There's a lot of damage going off there. Avoiding all the cleaves and the AoE stomps from this boss. He's fairly simple actually, to be honest. It is tyrannical, so he does hit harder and he takes a bit longer to kill. One of the more frustrating aspects of this this boss is when the 2 DPS get thrown down. It's just you, the healer, and 1 DPS to take out the banner, so it's trying to use as many cooldowns. Obviously it's going to take a bit longer, but it's going down fairly quickly here. But yeah, getting that banner down ASAP and watching for the brutal combos, so I'm using as many damage mitigations to try and limit that as possible. Using my Cavalier to get out of there. I don't want to risk getting hit by that, especially on Tyrannical. You never know. But yeah, Xav's going down really quickly. As you can see, DPS is making short work of him. Healer's doing really well. I'm doing not too bad. Another banner up. Let's see how quickly this goes down. And see a banner coincides with brutal combo as well, so I'm having to pump out the damage on that, as well as making sure I'm not going to die to brutal combo. So yeah, lots going on. Avoiding that massive cleave. Crushing Slam, which doesn't actually leave as a small mark in front of the boss. The Deafening Crash sometimes does catch DPS out as well, because it's alternated the way he does it. He might do it first, he might do it second, he might do it third, so paying attention to that. Another banner, got my curing ability ready for that. As you can see, it's gone down fairly quickly. The healer's also gone into Boomkin form and is spamming DPS on that. Excellent work, I see there. And Xav is pretty much on his way to the mortuary. Avoiding that massive cleave. And you know he's going to do the Deafening Crash next, so I've moved out already to avoid that. What have we got on the clock? About 8 minutes left. That's plenty of time to do the last boss. We've got heroism available as well. No need to worry about the banner as the boss is dead and he is done. So we've got all the trash done. We've got one boss left. We've got 8 minutes and heroism. I think we've got this one in the bag. And onto the final boss, which is Mordretha, I think it is. I think it's Mordretha. I think that's the name of the boss. Mordretha. Mordretha. Almost there. I'm looking through the loot. Ah, yes, of course. I'm changing my specialization to rep, because sometimes I look at what's available for my off specs and then just set the specialization to that, and then I can upgrade that gear in Valor. But that's enough waffling. Onto the boss. So it's Tyrannical. I think for me the main thing is to watch out for the Reaping Scythe. That can be pretty lethal, so having a damage mitigation available, Shield of Righteous, Argent Defender, Stone Form, anything like that just available, and then just healing myself up with Word of Glory. Watching out for Dark Devastation, and also moving away from the Rift when it spawns is also a good idea. And as you can see, I'm a little close. I'm very close. I'm right on top of the bloody Rift at the moment. Yeah, I'm not sure why I did that. Yeah, I should have been paying attention on that one and moved away from the Rift. But thankfully the DPS have taken out the mobs there, so I didn't have to worry too much. Yeah, a little bit too close to the Rift there. I'm normally trying to make sure I'm further away from the Rift. So yeah, Reaping Scythe again, as you can see, it takes a good chunk of health off, especially on Tyrannical, should I say. So the Rift has spawned pretty much on top of me, and I'm not taking any chances this time. Flee! Yeah, I'm away on Cavalier, fast away. Reaping Scythe again. Healing up with their Word of Glory, watching the devastation. I think I'm saving my Avenger's Shield curing ability. The hero's gone there, excellent. I think I'm saving my Kyrian Avenger's Shield ability for the next pack of mobs that will spawn out of the Rift, because then I can pretty much pull. Oh no, I've used it already. Is that a lie? Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. I've used it. What can I say? Just avoiding those ghostly mobs. Another Rift is up. See, now here is when I would have normally used my Avenger's Shield ability, but forgot. We used it earlier. I'm pretty low there, so Lay on Hands again has saved me. Boss is almost dead, so I'm kind of just focusing on him now. I think the DPS can manage to deal with the Deathwalkers. Oh, bit hairy. Oh, thank God for Word of Glory. Another Reaping Scythe again, but yeah, there's a lot going on in this boss, but we have done it. The boss is dead. So yeah. So there we have it, guys. The dungeon is over. So that was my plus 17 Theatre of Pain Mythic Plus dungeon in World of Warcraft. It was a pug. I know that stresses some people and raises the anxieties I mentioned earlier, but I lucked out with these guys. They were very good. We only had one death in the entire dungeon. I made a few mistakes, but other than that, it went fairly smoothly. I think it's pretty good for a pug. Definitely went smoothly. So yeah, guys, if you liked the video, please hit that like button. Subscribe if you are somebody new. Please leave some comments, guys. Let me know what you thought. If you have any tips and tricks, any suggestions from a tanking perspective, or just a general World of Warcraft perspective, let me know in the comment section below. So there will be another Hyrule Plays video in the future. It will probably be a different game, but I will probably do some more World of Warcraft videos as well in the future. So yeah, guys, if you like the video, again, please like, subscribe if you're somebody new, and we will see you on the next video. Thanks guys, and take care. Bye.